I got my DNA results. Genealogy is something I'm really passionate about. I've been researching my family history for years. I mean, actually, probably almost a couple of decades. But now that we have DNA, it just, had me all pumped up. And it took me forever to do it, but I finally did it. Now, I kind of had a little bit of insight into what it was going to be because my mom, took her DNA test. So that kind of gave me some insight. And we all want to know, at least us conscious black people, we want to know, how much African is in me. What is the percentage? And we want it to be this high percent. You'll see some people who are darker than me, more melanated than me, and may only be like 70 something percent African. It's pretty interesting. DNA is a trip. But we gonna dive into mine and see what it is. And I'm happy to share this with y'all. So let's check it out. Let's go on over here. I did mine with Ancestry.com. No specific reason. My mother did hers there. And through a little bit of research, they say that Ancestry is supposedly, better when it comes to genealogy and DNA matches and whatnot. I think they're all the same. 23andMe seems to be more known for its traits as far as, if you vitamin deficient or anything like that. So I went with Ancestry, but let's dive in. I ain't gonna bump my gums. Let's dive in. Here we go to Ancestry right now. All right, so let's check it out and look at that there. Would you look at that? 45% Nigerian. Niger boy. I wish I knew how to suck my teeth like they be doing that. I can't do it. They do it loud. But yeah, your boy Nigerian. 45%. Now I'm sure you could look at me and tell there's some European in there somewhere. And I always wonder how much. I thought it was a lot. But 45% Nigerian so far. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm proud of that. I'm happy of that. Shout out. What's up to all my Niger brothers and sisters? Hey, your brother, right? Hey, I am a Nigerian man. Hey. So what we got next? We got 9% Mali. What could I be? Could I be a descendant of King Musa, of Mansa Musa, the richest human being that ever lived in recorded history? Could I be? Who knows? But I know I am in love with knowledge, and we know what Mali is known for. So far, so great. What we got next? 9% Cameroon. I'm just being funny. I'm thinking about Trading Places with Eddie Murphy. I am an exchange student from Cameroon. Jerky beef. I'm just clouded. But yeah, I'm proud of that too. Cameroon. One thing this is already showing me is that we are all I'm talking about black people in America, foundational black Americans, adoas, whatever we want to go by, black Americans. We have such a mixture of Africa in us. We want to know what tribe we're from, but at this point, just looking at my DNA, it's already showing that we're mixed up. And don't get me wrong, I'm under no illusion that this is like 100% accurate, because one thing I know is that.
So Craig, you gonna still have that party tonight?
I don't know. I ain't got nothing to wear.
Got my shirt from the trap house. I'm gonna be like, boom,
none of these places, these names, these borders existed in Africa prior to colonization. Before Europeans came, none of those borders existed. It's called Nigeria now. We don't know what. None of those borders existed, and people moved around. So you look at the neighboring areas, which I'm glad it shows. I'm looking at the map here, as you can see, when you go to Nigeria. It kind of shows you that it's also around these areas here. You feel me? Where you got Benin, you got Togo, you got Cameroon, Burkina Faso. So you really don't you really can't just box yourself in to a tribe because we have so much mixed into our blood. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna jump back over here. So I want y'all to check this out. So back to it. I'm gonna go back here. Now where was I? Look at that. 8% Benin and Togo. Now you see how all of these areas are neighboring countries. You see that. So it is giving me a picture. You know what I'm saying? I'm West African. It is giving me a picture. We got 6% Ivory Coast. What? I'm loving this because it goes to show that people who did the work, the Sheikh Anta Diops, the Dr. John Henry Clark, the Dr. Ben Buchanan, all of our great historians who dedicated their lives to trying to, unearth information and tell our story because our story had been so broken here and we had been so lost. And this kind of proves that their research were correct when they were telling us that, we are direct descendants, of West Africa. And there was documentation, that was there too. And it's just interesting, man. So let's keep going. What else we got here? 6% Western Bantu peoples. Of course. Of course. Of course, the Bantu. Of course. Of course, those that some people will call pygmies or whatever. Of course, we getting down to the originals now. 5% Senegal. I'm from all over, baby. Now, if you could see the map over there where it lights up, that little blue part, then you could see that we come from all around this region here, all up in there. You know what I'm saying? I think about this, man. It's a lot of talk nowadays going on. I watched that brother Adonis live. Shout out to you. I love your channel, brother. But something kind of rubbing me the wrong way is that I noticed that okay, you're traveling and you're talking to Africans abroad, specifically in the UK, and I see they rubbing you the wrong way. It rubs me the wrong way too when they are on that. Americans are stupid because they don't know where they come from. They don't know what part of Africa they come from, with this hard European accent. And I know I speak American English, but it don't get no whiter than the European accent. It don't get no whiter. So I listen to these dudes tell us that we don't know what tribe we come from. Like they don't know the transatlantic slave trade happened. Like we don't have to pretend to be so ignorant. Like we don't know. Like the same thing didn't happen there that happened to us here. The same bomb was dropped on y'all that was dropped on us. You can only go so far back on you guys' history too. But it's interesting watching his channel because you see this tension, man, that I don't like. And it's kind of bad because it's like, it's that separation. It's like we're not coming together. We're stretching farther apart. You got the brother Adonis on his side. Well, you guys don't know where you come from. And well, I'm just a black American. It's like he has a problem with saying the word African. And that is not cool. We are Africans. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. We're African people. We're of direct African descent. If everybody on planet Earth biologically African, technically, sure. But I think we all know what we're talking about. So I don't like when brothers from here try to disconnect themselves from Africa. I'm a black American. I could trace my family back. You could trace your family back how far in America? And how much can you rely on those American census records? You can't really rely on that stuff. People had to say different things. You had racist census takers that would put down anything. They would put down you were mulatto and you weren't. Now you going off and in your history now, a later ancestor looking for some mystery white ancestor that doesn't exist. After, our enslavement, a lot of people became family just because they were in bondage together. They weren't actually blood related. We don't know who was from where, but we came out of bondage together. We family now. What we gonna call ourselves? We the Johnsons. We the Freemans. You know what I'm saying? We family now. So we can't rely on a lot. The best we could do nowadays is use the DNA, use the genealogical records, census records, whatever we can get, put it all together. And the best information I've gotten, honestly, is I'm really thankful for oral history. I'm thankful for family members that keep up with oral history. So far, if it wasn't for that, I'd just be looking at papers with words. You know, even with the DNA, it confirms so much. Let me show you. We're going to keep going. Your brother can talk. We're going to keep going. So look at that. We got 5% Senegal, 4% Central West African. No duh. I knew that, man. And Nigerian woodlands. Look at that, 2%. Just Nigeria, West Africa. Hey, that's all right with me. Now this is where it's finna get interesting. All right, we're gonna travel over to the northern part of the world, it looks like. I know I got some in me. So 2% England and northwestern Europe. Okay, where is that? See where it lights up on the map over there? Okay, all right, I can accept that. All right, 2% Cornwall. I don't know, it's that little dot lighting up. You see it like right there? That's Cornwall. Cornwall, 2%. Norway? Wow, that's up there. That's European. 1% Norway. Interesting. Way up here. And Irish? 1% Irish. Wow. Irish. That's wild. Hey, Irish. Hey. So it's all in there. So I'm going to go through a little bit more. I could bump my gums, but there's some interesting stuff just for those who are going to take the DNA test to show you what results they give you. I have like the basic plan. I don't have any upgrades or anything like that. They're trying to get me to pay more. I haven't done it yet. I just wanted to show you what they show you when you get the initial test. And I believe initially when you get the test, they will give you access to those like pro upgrades for a period of time. And then it goes away and you will have to pay for it to, you know, to keep access to it. But this is what I got now. So it says ethnic groups. We want to click here. And it takes us down here to the tells me 45% Nigerian, and it lets you know there's a range. You see that, 36 to 46. But here it tells you that you share DNA with at least one person on our reference panel who comes from a group below. You may be connected to one or more of these groups. Now you see they're naming these tribes in Nigeria: Isan, Idoma, Mumuye, Ibibio, Igbo, Yoruba. You know, if you pay, they will tell you your DNA breakdown by parent. This is interesting. Well, you know, as far as in the Americas, it kind of tells you what groups you may come from. Early North Carolina Africans, early South Carolina Africans, East Texas and Oklahoma Africans. My mother is from East Texas. My mother's mother is from East Texas, Texarkana, right here. It's interesting. It's showing up in the blood. Inland Mississippi Africans. My father's side, they come out of Mississippi. So it's, you know, there's some accuracy to it. I wish it would tell me what tribe, but to keep it a buck with you, I had already took the liberty of checking out one of those, I know you've all seen the ads of these things where you could upload your raw DNA data into these other sites like Living DNA and genomelink, and they're supposedly going to give you more information, more of a breakdown. Did it, kinda, but I did it, so I want to see what you guys think. I went ahead and did it. I don't know if my volume was too loud. Excuse me if it was. But yeah, so this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys what I got from My Living DNA. And the reason why is because when I first uploaded to My Living DNA, it was telling me for a second what tribes, and then it asked me to upgrade, and it didn't give me access. But what it showed me was Yoruba. It's Yoruba, which is interesting because it kind of goes with the groups they showed me in Ancestry. So what I got here is Booyah, 92.8% African, which is kind of close to what we got going on over here with Ancestry, because if you add this up, that would be about 94% African. So 94, 92.8, rounded off, 93. They're pretty close. And when you go into the little bit of breakdown, see, it kind of peaks out with this Yoruba, 20 to 40%. Interesting. Of course, it says West Africa, of course. And all this is supposed to be some other regions they give you access to if you upgrade. I also went and checked out genomelink and uploaded my data just to see, does it all match up? So here it tells me that I'm 90.4% African. That's, a little bit less than the other sites. And almost, what's that? Well, and 9% European. Interesting stuff, This DNA stuff is interesting because it also, like living DNA, I believe it is. No, genome link, they get into traits. And some of those traits, telling you about, your different levels of vitamins in your body and whatnot and personality traits. That stuff is interesting. But living DNA also has a supplement that they will sell you and make for you according to your DNA results. Like this here is telling me all the things that I've been deficient in and at what, whatever milligram or whatever, and they will custom make a supplement that I could purchase from them. I thought that was pretty interesting because that we're moving into the future, man, and we're moving into the era of tailor-made meds, medicines made, supplements made, tailored to your DNA. So this goes to show that we're in the early stages of it, but it's coming, baby. It's coming. We're moving along. Yeah, I really wanted to share that with y'all, my DNA results, man. Can't help but think about my ancestors, because I actually, if I did it right, I'll show you something else. I may have found one of my ancestors that stepped off the boat from Africa. If this tree is correct, the further you go back, man, it gets murky. But on my maternal line, going back, I may have found the ancestor that stepped off the boat. Let me show y'all this. Using Ancestry when I was paying for it and going through all the records. Going down the line here on an ancestral name of mine, Booth, which winds up, when you go back further, goes to Heath. And supposedly this ancestor, we're going to keep going. Look at that. This ancestor here, Doll Heath, supposedly was born in 1680 in Africa, but died in Surrey County, Virginia. That's not an easy task to find an ancestor that stepped off the boat. This could be accurate. It really honestly could not be with the information that I found. I would like to think that it is, but I found that very interesting. This is something, again, I've been researching for years and years and years and years. And I'm happy to match it with the DNA because things are lining up, looking at where my ancestors are from and looking at the groups that they say I'm genetically connected to. And this DNA stuff is deep, man. To imagine those ancestors, man, packed in those ships, came across that ride, survived, made it, and I'm here. You got people trying to say that the slave trade didn't happen. It's mathematically impossible to make that many voyages and get that many people and blah, 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 blah. And I don't go with DNA because DNA could be inaccurate. Those records could be inaccurate. I've been looking at records. I'm trying to tell you. People have on one document that they black, and then Maybe they might be fair skinned, and 10 years later on the next census, they're down as white. Then you got to remember that prior to 1870, excuse me, only records we gonna pop up on are slave schedules. And there were no names. It just said male, female, whether you were black or mixed, and how old you were. Not a birth date, just how old you were. So the only other way you could maybe find our names in records would be people's wills, because we were property, and sometimes our ancestors were passed down. And some people some people who are into raising livestock, let's say you have families who are into horse breeding, and they were into horse breeding for years and generations, and they kept documentation of these lines, of horses that they've bred for generations. And you get to going so far back, and you'll see in those records far back, they may have had some of our ancestors' names. We were kept with names were kept with like livestock. You know what I mean? So if you got these families, these white families who were farming and kept records of how many chickens and horses and cows they had, you might see some of our names pop up in records like that. It's a lot of records still held by families, white families. And when they release those things, we may find out a little more. But as far as documentation, on a government level, it's very hard, man. It's very hard to really trust that stuff. People lied on census for various reasons. And, it's just really hard. But I'm thankful for my family and the oral history. And I'm appreciative that we got technology like DNA now. Yeah, man, I'm Nigerian, and that's just what it is. So I wanted to share that with y'all. I ain't gonna go too deep with y'all, man, but I do urge you to take your DNA test. Don't be one of these dudes. If you want to be aboriginal and I was always here in America and we indigenous, first of all, you're not indigenous, because in the definition of indigenous, those people who naturally occurred on a land and are still there on that land. The only people that fit that criteria are those people in Africa who are still in Africa, who naturally occurred there, are still there. Indigenous Africans, those are the only indigenous people on planet Earth as far as all the data shows. Everybody else came from somewhere else, all right? You could say native, you were here before colonizers, but not indigenous. And second, take a DNA test and prove it. It's a reason why people who look like me, who yelling that they're aboriginal, will not take a DNA test. They don't want to believe they're African. We know that we've been given a negative connotation of everything African. The word African just makes some black people cringe. They don't want to be African. So they don't want to take that DNA test. These Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters. If I really believed that I was a Hebrew and come from this line, I'd be running to take a DNA test to prove that, because they hate Africans so bad because Africans are talked bad about in the Bible, and I ain't no stinking African, and I'm a Hebrew, I'm an Israelite. What? Prove it. And I bet you, those brothers who say they're Aboriginal and sisters, and the ones that say that they're Hebrew Israelite, some of them done took that test on the low, and they got their heart broke. They thought it was going to say something from Israel or something, but it didn't. They thought they was going to have all this percentage of North American. Nah. It actually wasn't as much mixing with black Americans and North Americans as we think. But yeah, man. So I know some of them took the test, and cognitive dissonance, it shook them so hard that they just rejected it. No, that's not it. And they never told nobody. But some of them done took a DNA test. Couldn't help it, because if you really believe those things, you want to prove it. So I urge people, man, go on and take that DNA test. Don't be scared. Jump out there. Take that DNA test, man. The blood talks. I got another DNA story, but that's for another day. A deep one that involves my mom. This DNA stuff is deep, man. Y'all need to go check it out. Check it out. It don't matter what service, 23andMe, Ancestry, MyHeritage. It really don't matter. But I urge you to do it, man. Yeah. Hey, that's it, y'all. I'm Insight signing off. Conscious Trap House. Don't forget to check me out on trapstv.etsy.com for my merch. If you a conscious brother or sister, man, come on, check me out. I got Huey Newton shirts, hoodies, Marcus Garvey. I came up with a Mansa Musa backpack. If you listen to Dr. Umar like I do, you know he always yelling no bunnies. I got the no bunnies shirt. Interesting, unique stuff, man. So check me out again at trapstv.etsy.com. See what your brother got going on. Conscious Trap House. I'm out of here. Peace.